Good morning. It is 8:07. Welcome to the Neil Larson Show, also known as the Big Beautiful Radio Show. And here we are making radio great again. And glad to have you with us. But I will tell you, this is my last little hurrah for a little while, Julie. Mm-hmm. I'm headed out. Have I ever taken this much time off at once in all the time you've worked with me?
Not with me. You had your hip done before you and I started, and you did take time off for the hip, of course.
That's true. Yeah. Did you talk to Kala about that?
Yes, Kala was like, when I talked to her, because I told her that you were going to Canada, and she was like, what for? Because you know Kala.
I can hear her saying that, yes.
And then I told her what you were doing, and she's like, oh, that makes sense. And she said, I am so sorry. It's horrible to do it alone, because she had to do it.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think this is the longest stretch. You're right. Mm-hmm. I did take a couple of weeks off when I got a new hip. But yeah. So, by the way, let me just preemptively say thank you. I know
it's going to be great.
It can be a little daunting to think about doing that, but I appreciate it. Did a great job yesterday, by the way. So thank you for that. So yeah, this is I don't know date certain when I'm coming back. Mm-hmm. My goal is to be back a week from Sunday. But I'm driving through Canada from Alaska, and so we just made it a little flexible there at the end. So we have a plan for Monday and Tuesday of not this coming week, but the following. So, but I've got to be by Tuesday night at the latest. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
There we go. You're going to do it.
Yes.
You leave today.
I do. Yeah, this afternoon, headed out, and it's been a while since I've been across the border into Canada. So
yeah, you'll hear him. He'll pop in when he can. You and I have also done a few segments ahead of time over topics that we feel are very relevant, and so those will be playing as well. So it won't be all sans Neil Larson, but
yeah. So yeah, you'll hear me. It'll be different, but you will hear me now and then. So this big headline, Julie, I'm watching. Musk is stepping away from Doge, at least the day-to-day stuff, like they always planned for him to do, and they're pretending like they didn't know he was always going to step away.
When I was searching for headlines last night, this was a pretty dominant story that was circulating, and I kept asking, why? There's no story here. You guys are inventing something that didn't exist.
Yeah.
There was always the plan was always before July, because there's a date range, like an amount of days that Elon could serve, and by federal law he couldn't go past a certain amount of days.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're 1 month away from July. I don't understand. He just chose now to leave. I don't get it.
Right. Yeah, and it's a weird thing. Like it was always going to be temporary.
Always.
And so they're trying to spin this into a controversy. Mm-hmm. Sort of, which is not unlike the story that we talked about at the end of the last hour about the little girl who they say faces deportation, and she's getting life-saving treatments in Los Angeles. And but they might be able to stay and they've applied to stay. Department of Homeland Security says, we're processing your application. And even in the letter saying it's time to go home, there was an unless clause in there. And that unless clause said, unless you have a legal basis to stay. So this is not a controversy at all. It's weird that it's not weird. We know how the media operates here. They pounced on this before Homeland Security said, oh, she's getting life-saving treatments. Well, let's give you a 6-month extension on the deportation. If everything else is in place and you're not breaking laws and causing problems, then my guess is they're probably going to get an extension so this girl can continue to get treatment.
I would actually put money down. She's going to get an extension. We got a couple of texts from people saying, how is her medical care being paid for? If this is in LA, illegal immigrants qualify for Medicaid.
Do they still, or is it? What's the status now?
That might be ending soon because Gavin Newsom is having a freak out about it, and I don't know when the threshold date was or is. It's right in this range somewhere. Yeah. But that treatment was being paid for by that. And they're not going to deny this little girl treatment. They're not going to.
No.
So even if the Medicaid provision, it's called Medi-Cal in California, even if that is removed, they're not going to deny these treatments to this little girl. That's not how hospitals work.
Well, and I don't know how much her treatments are, but she makes a visit every 6 weeks to get an IV, I think, or something. Mm-hmm. Her GoFundMe has over $26,000 raised.
Okay,
so there's a lot of charitable effort
I'm so
here.
just tired of these manufactured outrages.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Also, don't get the impression that ICE is standing outside of the hospital waiting for this child to come out from a treatment.
Yeah.
They were given probably a generic letter that's sent to, at this point, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. It wasn't like they were being targeted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Another thing we wanted to put on the table today, Julie, the water tower in Idaho Falls, it's been going up for a few months now, but they got it painted with the logo of Idaho Falls on it. A lot of people are making the joke. It looks like a flashlight. You just need to have the little switch on the side. There's that. A lot of people are ripping it. Your thoughts? What's your 1 or 2 sentence take on it?
Well, I'm going to tell you the story when we were talking. I'll just repeat the story. So when I go for my long walks, if I'm near the river, I always take pictures and send them to my daughters. I do this on all of my walks. I find interesting things and I send them pictures. I don't want to take a picture of the riverscape with the new tower in it because I find it boring and uninteresting, and it doesn't make that river look prettier or more unique or iconic, because I just think it's kind of boring.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. If I don't hate it, but if the water tower was a blind date, it could have been worse. Not great.
6 out of 10. I did get a good steak, though. So,
did. There's no good night kiss here. But you know what? We'll go get a steak and it'll be fine. But it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I would imagine. There's an industry standard now. Okay. And I'll say this maybe in defense of the city here. If you're going to operate with industry standard code, you might this is what you're left with. I don't know if there's, as regulated as everything is these days, I don't know that you could build a water tower that has character, a water tower that you'd be excited about if it were your blind date with today's sort of required standards.
Vanilla is required.
Yes, it is. And so maybe they're just like, well, we just have to go with the standard water tower. So
okay, so maybe it had to be built that way.
Yeah.
Do you wish it would have been painted different? Currently, it's this very muted, boring gray.
Yeah.
With the City of Idaho Falls logo.
Yeah.
On the top part that's like the head of the flashlight.
You know my thought about this? And people will disagree with this. And you know what? It's Thursday. I'll allow it. I'll allow people to disagree with me. So,
so kind of you,
right? Yeah,
you're such a giver.
Well, I'm leaving on vacation. I don't want to create any bad blood, so you are allowed to disagree with me today. I actually think it would be kind of cool, although it would be very Potemkin Village-esque, if they put strategic lights on it and made it look like a skyscraper.
Oh yeah,
just so it looks like it's a lit up building at night, with random lights on in it. It would give it more of a cityscape feel rather than this is the most boring Midwest town you could find feel.
Which, okay, maybe that's what you just said triggered something, because maybe that's my issue with it being so boring. Is because the falls and the temple and the way that all of that's been built down there and renovated and beautified is not boring.
Right. It's a very plain portion of the cityscape now.
Yeah.
That is otherwise quite beautiful. Yeah,
people plan trips around it to see it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's
Wait
just
a minute.
so boring.
Okay, let me ask this question. If you've met the code by building the most boring structure you can imagine that looks like a flashlight, but you built a facade of a water tower around it, you'd still be compliant with code, right?
Sure.
And
I would think.
Then you'd get the personality back.
Maybe. Obviously, they don't have plans to do any of this. We're way late to the planning because they painted the logo.
That is true.
It's a done deal. Yeah. What's happening to the top? So at the top of the flashlight, there's currently, it looks like, without a lack of a better term, it looks like rebar poking out everywhere.
I think I have the answer to this.
Okay.
So that framework holds a curtain so that they can sandblast and paint.
Okay.
And that will go away.
The framework, those look like rebar.
The crown around it, yes.
Is going to go away.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
In fact, one day I did see the curtain that was around it. And I thought, okay, they're either painting it or David Copperfield has a big magic trick he's about to unveil. So
the second part of Wicked that is in production right now, it's happening at the river.
Yeah,
it's the curtain. Yeah, that's where Oz is.
Doing. Okay, what about this? And I know this would be expensive, so it would have to be corporate funded because I don't think I'd even support taxes to do this. You know how you go to like a big professional arena? Well, even Mountain America Center has this. They have the ribbon video graphics that go around. Put something like that around it.
Yes.
And sizzle it up a little bit. Why not?
I think we have a whole collection of people that want less billboards, less lights, less everything. So I think that's going to get voted down.
But they don't matter, Julie. Those people don't matter.
Okay.
I need dopamine. All right.
I'm going to read some of these texts.
I'm kidding.
This one says, it's like a chunk of modern art crap that's on an ISU campus. The rebar is where the birds go to sit.
Yeah.
But somebody else said that you're correct, that it's temporary and it's going to go down.
Yeah.
They should offer bungee jumping or zip lining from the water tower.
That's a good idea, too.
Well, and that would raise money to, sizzle it up a little bit.
Yeah, they should. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the ride at Lagoon that it's the swings? You sit and it goes around. Yeah. Why don't they put like a rotational framework around it and they could run a swing ride around that?
I saw somebody on the Facebook page about Idaho Falls saying if you're going to make it look that ugly, you might as well have put a rotational restaurant at the top. So it had a reason to be there.
It would be like a redneck Space Needle.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so you know what? I think this warrants, Julie, a best 10 seconds.
Okay.
So we'll do that a little bit later in the hour. But let's go to the phones right now. Caller, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Doing well.
The new water tower reminds me of a deodorant container.
Kind of.
Exactly. Something out of the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like an underarm stick. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just a real quick question. Is it lawful for one city to gift something to another city?
Probably. I think so.
Sister cities do this kind of stuff.
My suggestion is this. Mayor Casper needs to deed the new water tower over to the city of Ammon. And they can put city of Ammon on the tower, and thus our embarrassment may be gone.
Oh, God. Do you mean the old water tower? Give that to Ammon?
No, the new one.
Oh, the new one. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Just start over. Scrap it and start over.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you two have a wonderful day, and thank you.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Somebody said the tower will have nighttime decorative colored lighting. It's just not all the way activated yet.
Oh, okay. But is that just going to be kind of a spotlight on the logo? Is that the plan?
No, Occam's razor is yes. That's probably what it's going to be.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which Like I said, it's fine. I've never thought I need to be entertained by the local water tower. So, we're talking
the
about
outrage
something.
of this is very limited, which is why I just say it's just boring.
Yeah, and I think it'll just be one of those things where we're just going to get used to it, and in 3 months it'll just be, that's the water tower.
Yeah, but do we want to be doled this much?
No, but do you remember when we were going through the Pocatello High School mascot issue?
Yeah.
Nobody really cares I mean, some people probably do.
I'm sure they do.
But it's a non-issue from a larger public standpoint.
But if you ask me, if you said, what do you think about that mascot issue? I would tell you still today, I think they chose stupidly.
Yes, I do too. And the way it was handled was problematic. Not so much that they moved on from the Pocatello Indians, but because it was just simply largely a unilateral choice and they moved ahead without a lot of public input. That was the problem, I think. So,
yes, with manufactured reasons for getting rid of the mascot.
Yeah. Yes. Someone suggested that you bring in Kala in to help I absolutely veto that. I would not allow those two.
I do still I have every day covered but next Wednesday. So maybe I'll reach out to Kala.
No. Okay, no. Both of you have spent far too much time with me. And I don't want you to be co-hosting with me not there to defend myself. So
everyone should know I see Kala for about an hour every 2 weeks. We have a bi-monthly visit.
I know. Do you know how worried that makes me sometimes? Both know me way too well.
Oh, that's good.
All right, 8:24. Let's break. 208-542-1077. Let's just do it. Next segment, we're going to ask you, I think it's a little more complicated than do you like it, yes or no? It's more in 15 seconds, tell us what you think about it. So, all right, we'll do it. Coming up on News Talk 107.9. All right, 8:28 on News Talk 107.9. And if you'd like to reach us, 208-542-1079. We're just going to open it up for up to 10 minutes or so, we'll say. And we want to know what you think if you live in the Idaho Falls area, and a lot of people just passing through. I think most, if you've been to Idaho Falls within the past few weeks, you've seen the water tower going up. It's just been within the last week or so that there's been partial paint done on it with the Idaho Falls logo on it. So we kind of have known for a while what this thing's going to look like. And we're just curious what you all think about this. Julie and I, if you, scale of 1 to 10, Julie, where would you put it?
Oh, I don't even know if I said the blind date got a 6 out of 10. I think the water tower gets a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't hate it. It's fine. It's fine.
Let's understand it's not winning any awards.
That is true. That's true. And if you've traveled across the Midwest in the United States, every city of any size has a water tower that looks very much like it.
Yeah.
Some of them are round. They're more bulbous. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
All right, 208-542-1079. Give us 10 or 15 seconds on the Idaho Falls water tower. Caller, what do you think?
I think it's awful, especially with the old water tower still up. It just looks bad. Also on the lighting, the governor was in Shelley yesterday with a new bill banning all lights on the windmills at night. They will use a radar thing that picks it up if an airplane comes within too close. Those lights will come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the call. He makes an interesting point about leaving the water tower up. So if we extend the blind date analogy, it's like the girlfriend you're breaking up with is still in the room when your blind date gets there.
Yes.
All right. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, what do you think of the water tower? Go ahead.
Let's keep it boring. In fact, I think we should even camouflage it so that Californians just pass us on by and don't stop.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the call. He may have texted in earlier. So let's go to the next caller. Your thoughts on the water tower?
I think like They could paint a giant King Kong on the side or have him sitting up on the edge.
Okay.
Yeah, give it some flavor.
Yeah.
Okay, I like King Kong, but what if we just do it Idaho style and we actually put Bigfoot on it instead of King Kong?
That would be really better. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Your idea is better. Yeah.
Okay. I like, but it does make you wonder, could you put some temporary tapestries on it like they did in Salt Lake for the Olympics years ago? Remember that? That was really cool. I wonder if they could do something like that, because I really want to make this blind date pretty. Let's go to the next caller. How are you, caller?
Sorry, is that me?
It's you. Yeah, go ahead. What do you think of the water tower?
Well, it already looks like a flashlight, so put one of those giant vertical lights like they have in Vegas on the pyramid that just shoots straight up in the sky. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool.
Embrace the flashlight concept.
Yeah.
We're lit up in East Idaho.
Okay. I like it. I think you might get astronomy buffs that wouldn't be happy with it, but it's an interesting concept.
It is a concept. While you said this looks like water towers all across the United States, I did a quick Google search. Actually, it's a Bing search. And there's some pretty interesting water towers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's one painted like a peach. There's one painted like a magic 8-ball. There's one painted like a flag. One looks like a ketchup bottle. One looks like an ear of corn. One looks like a hot air balloon. One looks like a tea kettle. I don't know why it needs to be a tea kettle. I'm sure there's something. One looks like a watermelon. There's a lot of different versions of water towers. I will say, though, there's some that are uglier
Really?
than the flashlight. Yes. So maybe we should count our blessings.
Okay. That's one of those blind dates where you're like, let's just go get a soda and I got to be back in 30 minutes.
What, your curfew's in like 12 minutes? Okay, let's make this fast.
All right. 208-542-1079. And we're curious. We have a lot of people texting in. Someone said, ugly, make it better. Put a very bright light on top to play up the flashlight look.
Mm-hmm. Someone said paint it so it looks like a big potato.
That's true. Someone said it looks like a post for dental implants.
Okay. It probably does. I didn't know what a post for a dental implant looked like.
I bet it's a dentist who's texting that.
Somebody said we're getting a new water tower. I had no idea. Are they being facetious?
Maybe. Someone said the Eye of Sauron, which that would be kind of cool.
Explain what that is to me.
Lord of the Rings?
Oh, okay. That's why I have no idea.
The tall tower with the light. My precious. My precious. All right, let's go to the phones. Hi, caller. What do you think about the tower?
You should build a roller coaster around it.
I like it.
Okay.
I like
We're
that
back
idea.
to making money off of it.
Or a water slide. I mean, you're already pumping water to it. So.
That's true.
Okay.
Get plenty of water there. Make like a spiral slide down the narrow part.
Yeah.
Yeah, do something fun around. There's never anything fun to do around here. So, yeah, one of those two would be great.
All right. Thank you for the call. How about this? A zip line to the hotel that's across the river from it. You know, the tall hotel that's right there. Put a zip line point on that hotel and then a zip line to the water tower, and it could be a revenue generating opportunity
There we go.
for the city.
There you go. What if you made it look like a torch instead of a flashlight? And the light that came up and out of it was oranges and yellows.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now we're thinking.
I think we can make this snazzier, to use one of my mom's terms.
Yeah, that's snazzier. That's what I say. Snazzy's my outdated word that I get to use, Julie. But I'm glad you're using it. I'm flattered now. Now
my mom would be in her 80s, so there we go.
Yeah, there you go. But you're using it. So 208-542-1079. Someone said, make it like the Vegas Sphere and sell advertising. Mm-hmm. Would you be opposed to that if we had a little touch of Las Vegas as people were driving in town? If you made it a very dynamic, illuminated exterior on it, and
look, I don't hate that kind of technology. But I think you would get massive pushback from the residents of Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd like that at all.
I think you're right about that. Mm-hmm. 208-542-1079. Someone said, by the way, you cannot beat... Oh, no, that has nothing to do with the water tower.
Yeah, they were saying that you would make BYUI at MAD in the previous one if you did like U of U on it. Like did a rival school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone's saying put the Spud Kings mascot on it.
Instead of King Kong or Bigfoot, it would be the Spud Kings guy hanging off of it.
Yeah. Okay, here's a secondary question. We've got a lot of texts here. We're waiting for phone calls. 208-542-1079. Should we sell a sponsorship space on it to offset some of the costs?
Well, if you're going to paint the one side with the logo, sure, paint the other side with a sponsorship.
Yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Here's where I'm going to go with this. The architecture of the water tower itself is really ugly. Let's just call it what it is.
Okay.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
So leaving it just ugly means it's just ugly. So you might as well do something else, right?
Right.
If that's sell sponsorship, whatever. If that's, add something that's appropriate to Idaho, like a potato or the Spud King guy or,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to still just be an ugly water tower.
So I have other people will know this. I have not been following this moment by moment. Are they building other water towers? I thought in the original plans I saw that there were actually multiple water towers.
Oh, I have no idea.
Or is this the one? I thought there were multiples. This is just the first one. So somebody will know and
I have
they'll
no
text
idea.
in. All right, let's go to the phones. Caller, go ahead. What do you say?
I think we should make it a mountain wall. Climbing wall. More people
a climbing wall. Put some anchors on it and let people climb it.
That'd be fun to watch them.
That's kind of cool. Local mountain climbing community would love that.
Okay, that leads me to, when you drive into Twin Falls and there's always people jumping off the bridge there.
Base jumping.
Base jumping off the bridge. Do you have to have a permit to do that? Do they make money off those people that base jump?
I don't think it's actually legal to base jump off the Prine Bridge. I'll have to double check that. I think
people just do it?
I think so. Yeah. And I don't think the water tower is nearly tall enough to base jump.
Oh, it's not. No,
yeah.
But I'm saying, my references, does Twin Falls make money off of that?
Oh, yeah.
And then Idaho Falls could make money off of it if it was something like that. You got a permit and then you could climb it.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you could make it like a rappelling tower on one side and a climbing. Yeah. Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next caller. What do you say, caller, about the new tower?
How about we put a olive on a little sword and a big straw coming out the top?
Make it a drink.
It would match the commerce in East Idaho because there's a drink shop on every stinking corner now.
That is, yeah. That's true.
It could work.
All right, thank you for the call. That's funny.
Yeah.
Like leave that little crown framework up on there and just make it the edge of the
glass. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 208-542-1079. Someone said, what in the world is wrong with the old water tower? Well, it's sinking. That's part of the problem. And Idaho Falls Power needs the parking space because their operation has expanded to the point that they needed more space for their equipment and their fleet. So that's why they. And structurally, I don't think it's about to be a catastrophe. But over time, there's so much weight there. That water tower has been sinking into the ground. So, All right, let's go to the next caller. Welcome, caller. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. What's up?
Well, as I've traveled around the country over the years, there's a truck stop back in the Midwest, SAPS, I think it's called, and they make their tower look kind of like a little teapot.
Oh.
Got a handle on it and a little spout. It's kind of different. It's pretty different.
Yeah, that's I like that, and they could dedicate a little bit of the water to coming out of the spout.
Yes,
and be
yeah.
All right. Well,
on the other hand, the Prine Bridge is a legal jump.
Oh, it is legal.
Yep. It's one of the highest and one of the only legal jumps in the United States.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But they don't need a permit for it.
I wouldn't say that. They may have to have a permit, but it is legal to jump.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well,
So if they're smart, they are charging.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Thanks for the call. 208-542-1079.
Somebody said just paint Save Ferris on the side. Remember from Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, yeah.
When everyone thought he was sick, they painted Save Ferris on the water tower.
Yeah, I like that. But then that opens up. Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Like you're going to see.
F. Joe Biden.
Yeah. Let's go, Brandon. 208-542-1079. And we'll read a couple more texts, Julie, and then we'll call it good.
Says paint a mural of the Tetons on it and put a climbing wall on it.
Yeah.
I'm all for making money off of this tower. I think there's got to be a way to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think that would add to the character of the thing. So, do they have plans for it? Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. We do have more phone calls coming in, but we've got to take a break. We'll get to those phone calls on the other side on News Talk 1079.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
All right, it's 8:49. It's the only song we could find that was about a water tower.
Yeah.
So
It's a good one, though.
It is a good old country song. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Of course, it is Joe Diffie.
Okay, I couldn't have told you who the artist was.
Yeah. You know what's in? I don't know why this reminded me of that, but you know the fitness places that are it's called Bodify.
Uh-huh.
I always read it as Bo Diffie. I'm like, that sounds like a country star, Bo Diffie. Well, I do.
I do this too, though, because I read things phonetically.
Yeah.
I think you and I are a lot alike that way.
Yeah.
And there's a county that's had an unusual amount of crime in it, and it's spelled Blount. Tell me how you would pronounce that county.
Well, I know it's Blunt, but it looks like Blount.
And I screw it up all the time because I read it phonetically, but it's Blount County.
Yeah.
And it's connected to what would be Marysville, but they don't pronounce that county that way either. It's you take out the Y.
Marysville?
Uh-huh.
It's like
Maryville.
It's not Louisville, Kentucky. It's Louisville.
Louisville and Maryville. Uh-huh.
New Orleans is New Orleans. Do we?
Yet I'm the one with the accent, as everyone says.
Do we do that, like with place names around here? Oh, we do. There's a town in northern Idaho. If you read it phonetically, it should be Kuskia, but people say Kuski.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we do it. Tooele,
yeah.
I think a lot of people read phonetically Tool.
That's true. Some place names we pronounce letters we shouldn't, like Du Bois. It's supposed to be Dubois. Right?
Sure. And then there's the ongoing fight of whether it's Boise or Boise.
Yeah, that's only a fight because to people who don't know it's Boise. All right. Lava.
Yeah, there's that one.
Yeah, there's got to be others. I think there are. You know what I noticed the other day? And I don't even know if there's a linguistic term for this. When we migrate words from spoken syllables to a melody. Okay, ask me if I know what kind of makeup you use.
Neal, what kind of makeup do I use?
What is that?
There's no word there.
There's no word, but you knew exactly what I was saying when I'm like, And I thought through this because my daughter responded to me that way the other day. I'm like, what is that called linguistically? Like we view other languages, like some languages use like clicking, and we're like, oh, that's so weird. Is it really? Because we kind of do some similar things.
Yeah.
Like, how do you spell?
Yeah, we do that. In Idaho and Utah, we like to chop words, like shorten them as much as possible. So it's not feel, it's fill.
Yeah.
It's not real, it's real. Like we like actually squish them and make them less.
Well, there's another one too. Like, and I hear this quite frequently around. They don't say the T in .com. .com.
Yeah, we cut off the T.
Let's go to .com. .com. It looks like it's a hard .com.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating it a little bit, but.
So I watched a linguist explain, because I get comments on my podcast from people all over the world that I have a funny accent.
Yeah.
Well, it's an Idaho, Utah thing. And the linguist says it's because we in this area, Idaho and Utah, leave our mouth open way too much. When we say dot, we need to close our mouth back down to make the T.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. We just go .com.
And
my mouth is still open as I make the C sound.
Yeah, okay. That oh yeah. So it's
instead
lazy.
of mountain.
Yeah.
See, I had to close my mouth to make that hard T sound in mountain. We just don't close our mouth and it's all one word, mountain.
Is it a Mormon Belt thing? Like we're donating 1/10 of our consonants to the Lord?
That's what it is.
Is that what it is?
Sure.
So we don't say .com, it's .com. .com. Okay, I'm not making it to heaven. I'm just not going there. I try to
have
get
a lot
there.
of fun people around you, though.
That's true.
Very interesting people in the other areas.
Yes. We'll be back after this. It's 8:54. 8:56. Earlier this morning, Julie said she had a beef with me. And I instantly thought of Grand Peaks Prime Meats.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you didn't have a beef with me.
I didn't have a beef with you. We were talking about two people that had a beef with each other. But this is what Neal's face did. Beef.
Beef nuggets. Wait, what are they called? Beef
steak bites?
Beef nuggets are different. We're talking about steak bites. I knew it was not.
What is wrong with you?
I knew it wasn't beef nuggets. I couldn't think of steak bites. So yeah, steak bites. Let's go with that.
Okay.
It's I will take a steak from Grand Peaks Prime Meats, cube it up, put a lot of butter on it, put some garlic and whatever spices you want, and then throw that in the air fryer for about 8-9 minutes. And what you get out of that is delicious.
So good.
So good.
But they have so many other things there. They've got things like crock-pot meals to make your life a little bit easier. If there's French dips, sous vide things. You can get pork like bacon. There's so many things available, and it's all local. And that's one of the best parts because you can talk to the person who's preparing your cuts of meat at Grand Peaks Prime Meats.
Yes, gpprimemeats.com. Check out all of their packages and specials. Don't search beef nuggets, search steak bites, and you'll have better success.
Good idea.
Why does beef nuggets sound so much more redneck than steak bites?
Because it is.
Yeah, but they're conceptually the same thing. All right.
It's not corn pops. It's corn nuggets.
It's corn nuggets. All right. We got a break. Hour 2 coming up on this Thursday on News Talk 107.9. Someone said what temperature to do steak bites? We do about 360 usually. So, all right. We'll be back. I don't think they heard it. Welcome back. It's hour 2. If you'd like to join us on the program, 208-542-1079. That's the nice thing about pre-fade listen, Julie, is like that can be just for you. Welcome back. It's if you'd like to join us, 208-542-1079. And okay, Julie, we've talked about the water tower. What else have we talked about today?
Well, we talked about the little girl who's not really getting deported, but they've turned her into somebody who's getting deported.
Okay.
We've talked about Elon Musk leaving his position.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's other stuff.
There is other stuff. You have on Drudge right now an AI image of Donald Trump wearing a king's robe and crown, and the headline, Federal Trade Court blocks king's tariffs. No authority. Illegal. Okay.
I'm so over judges.
Well, I am too, but I'm also over the media having a double standard because Biden, Obama, like they never would have had a headline like this when you had Biden he was doing unconstitutional things too. So
right.
Anyway, so Stephen A. Smith, apparently he's getting headlines right now. He says the Biden cover-up makes Trump look right. Stephen A. Smith is one of the Democrats that I was talking about that recognizes the Titanic has hit the Biden cover-up iceberg, and he wants to get off the ship before it goes down. There's a number of Democrats that are doing this. They're recognizing this could be an existential threat to a lot of people if they want to stay, in on the narrative about everything was fine with Biden. But it's when you have a number of lefties that are now saying, yeah, this was pretty bad. Even Jake Tapper acknowledged it's bigger than Watergate yesterday.
Something's got to be done. You just mentioned to me that you're a little underwhelmed by Comer's response to this.
Yeah.
He's calling in 5 different people for testimony about the auto pen scandal.
Yeah.
I do not feel like our elected officials are tackling this head on.
Yeah, I don't either. And maybe I'm a little impatient. Maybe I should just wait it out. But I feel like maybe the swamp is just always going to be the swamp.
Yeah.
Maybe there are enough Republicans that when the cameras are rolling and the microphones are on, they'll say they support Trump, and they'll look like they're about to deliver justice to the people who deserve justice. But in the end, don't you get a little suspicious that we have had hearing after hearing after hearing about all these things that politicians have done? There's never any justice. They never deliver. They just say things that are unflattering. They know that are going to wash through the news cycle after a few days, and then everybody's going to kind of move on. If in fact, and sorry, I'm cutting off here. If in fact we find out that this auto pen scandal is very real, and I think there's a lot of evidence pointing to that Joe Biden may not have been aware of the pardons that got signed with his name on them, other documents and executive actions that may have his name on it that he didn't know about. That is a far bigger insurrection than anything that happened on January 6th.
Absolutely. And we've had people who were arrested and jailed and held without, it is just crazy that we've got this whole concept of due process going on for illegal immigrants, but the January 6th rioters were held.
Yeah.
There was no due process that, according to how the Democrats think it happens, for those people.
Yeah.
And they expect nothing to happen to Biden's administration, to the top aides that were helping him do all of this.
Yeah.
Or I should rephrase that, not helping him do all this, doing all of this without his knowledge because his knowledge wasn't capable of handling the concepts.
Yeah. No, it's you're right about that. And you also think, okay, is there a dynamic in Washington where there's an unspoken agreement behind the scenes? You don't hold us accountable for our sins. We won't hold you accountable for yours. We'll just talk a good game. We're going to blast you in the media, but we're never actually going to send you to prison. We're never going to prosecute. We're never going to go after it.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like that could be in place. So
yeah.
It's almost a trust no one environment.
Which might be the healthiest way to approach politics.
Might be, but man, it's cynical.
Mm-hmm.
It really is cynical. So, I mean, let's just watch it play out. Let's see how this auto pen thing happens. I'm also, we won't do a flash poll on this, but I would love to have people text in. There's a new story out about Dan Bongino, who's second behind Kash Patel at the FBI, saying, kind of doubling down on the Jeff Epstein death narrative, saying, look, there'll be video that will come out that will show there wasn't anybody there when he died, that the only way he could have died is if he did it to himself. And instant skepticism here. And I like Bongino. We had him on our airwaves for, a long time. I like him. But it feels like there's been a shift with both him and Kash Patel. Am I wrong?
No. I'm interpreting it exactly the same way. I think two very vocal men for years prior to their appointments to these positions are now awful quiet.
Yeah, they are. They've been very quiet. And then when they do speak, they're like, no, it happened the way they said they did. And meanwhile, Julie, I think there's a thing that we could make up, a term called hostage video face.
Yeah.
Did it feel a little bit like there was
those interviews?
Hostage video face was going on there?
Absolutely. I would say that. Also, to carry on with the cynicism theme, I'm not really going to trust any grainy video that comes out of a prison. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Our prisons are falling apart because people won't fund them. I get it. I'm not saying we have to fund prisons, but the prison system is loaded with facilities that are falling apart.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust some grainy video that came out of there.
Well, and with all of the technology that we have today, can we honestly say we trust any video? Like how would we know that video was actually at the time of Jeff Epstein's death? How would we know that?
I'm never going to trust a video that has jump cuts. And there's no other way for them to provide that for us than with jump cuts.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go from camera to camera. I'm not going to trust it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know. So, again, trust no one.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wish there was somewhere else to go with that. There really wasn't.
It's the hopeless end is what it is.
Yeah.
It's all right, let's close out this segment with no hope about what's happening.
I will say, and Julie, you know me, I think this frustrates you because I'm like this. I'm very open to maybe I was just wrong all along. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Epstein death was just totally and it was a complete coincidence. Cameras weren't working. Different guards were on staff. They had just changed cellmates. They had all these things. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm the weird one for being suspicious about it. Maybe everyone's the weird one for being suspicious about it.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's compare a headline from last week to what you're talking about. 10 inmates escaped out of a Louisiana prison.
Yeah.
They were helped on the inside. There have been 3 people arrested since then on the inside. There have been 13 people arrested on the outside, family members, people connected to these 10 inmates. 8 of the 10 have been recaptured. 2 are still on the run. That's 1 week since the escape. Mm-hmm. How many years are we out from this Epstein thing? And now all of a sudden we're going to be promised a video?
Julie, we're nearing a year and we still know nothing about Trump's assassin.
Yes. So don't tell. This is where the cynicism comes from. Why, when it's a lower level Louisiana prison escape with 10 inmates, we get information immediately. Mm-hmm. And when it's something bigger like Epstein or the presidential assassination, it's just silence. Sorry, we gave you everything we had. Yeah. That's not how this works. Crimes are crimes and there's information to them. When they're high-level crimes, there is information you're not providing.
Somebody's slow-walking.
That's the difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody's slow-walking, and we ought to know why. Yeah.
And by the way, this Louisiana prison was falling apart as well. They could open the doors without the locks being disengaged. That's how bad the locking system is in this Louisiana prison.
Yeah.
And So if there was issues in this prison that Jeffrey Epstein was in New York, Louisiana had prison, but we still had prison problems, but we still had video.
Yeah, true.
We're not being told all of the truth.
No,
that's just the bottom line.
And this could be true for a number of different news stories. How many times did you watch something and have instant suspicion over it, and then within about 48 hours, they had crafted a narrative to make your suspicion feel like a conspiracy theory, and you're the weird one, and then time goes by, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you were right all along. This happened on multiple fronts with COVID. It happened with the origin story about COVID. It happened with masks. It happened with the vaccines. It happened with the spreadability of it. It happened with who was dying from COVID. All of those things, we're like, okay, this is common sense. Remember the Behringer Declaration?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they said, keep living your life if you're healthy and if you're young. We'll uber protect the people who are sick and who are old and vulnerable. Reality proved that that was the best approach all along. But do you remember how marginalized that approach was? Those doctors may as well have believed in Sasquatch.
It was occupational suicide.
It absolutely was. And that turned out to be right all along. So when I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, here's my natural common sense reaction to something my own eyes have seen, my own ears have heard, and this is my conclusion, and I think there's enough evidence here to make a fairly reasonable conclusion. It doesn't take more than about maybe 2 or 3 days. The mainstream media all gets on the same page, creating a narrative, and your common sense conclusion is treated like it's the weirdest thing. It's horse paste. It's weird. It's everything. And then most people are going to have self-doubt at that point, like, oh, maybe I was wrong. And the easiest course of action is to join the narrative, ridiculing the people who are having intelligent people who had a common sense reaction to it. And then over time, when the dust settles and they're not so politically invested in the narrative, we finally do find out the truth. And those people were right all along.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is no different than like a game plan in a sporting event. It's like a one-on-one offense in basketball. This is just something that they implement and they plug in the story. The game plan stays the same. They just plug in the story and create the narrative. It was surrounded around COVID. It was surrounded around the Russia collusion hoax. It's surrounded around, we talked for one whole half hour about the 4-year-old girl that's receiving treatment. They made you feel like you were not a kind human being because this 4-year-old little girl needs life-saving treatment. When we dug into the story, she's getting it. And they're not sending her away.
Yeah.
But they just lied.
Right. They are lying. They're leaving. Well, they would say, well, we're not leaving it out. Yeah, but when you report it so late in the story, if it's print, it's like paragraph 10. If it's a broadcast story, they wait until you're 2 or 3 minutes in, and the reader, the news consumer, has already made up their mind, and they're angry about it. And even when the truth comes out, most people, when they're angry, they want to hold on to that anger because it makes them feel important. Mm-hmm. So they don't care about the entire truth. So they wait to tell you those details. They still tell them so they can say, well, we did tell you. That's journalistic integrity. Yeah. No, journalistic integrity is to tell those relevant details as early in the story as possible.
Well, it's the who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
And they leave out 3 or 4 of those until later in the story.
Yeah, and it gets de-emphasized the way that they report.
Yeah, because the obvious question is that, well, when are they getting deported? That was never answered. Never answered in the story that you read from the Huffington Post.
Yeah,
there was no when.
When are the flights scheduled? Mm-hmm. When is the bus ticket purchased? Yeah, that's a good point. And then, well, it hasn't been yet because they haven't been deported. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's where the cynicism comes from.
Yeah, it really, really does.
Yeah.
Horse paste. 922 on News Talk 1079, 208-542-1079. If you'd like to join us on the program, we'll be back after this.
I'm not going to react to you any differently whether they can hear me or not.
Sorry. I think I just triggered Julie a little bit.
These are my good friends.
I just said to Julie, or should I not tell them what I just said?
No, go ahead and say it, because then they'll know why I reacted so strongly.
They're going to be mad if I say it. So
You mean my good friends are going to react the way I did?
Well, they're my good friends too. I said to Julie that there's only 36 minutes left of Neil Larson broadcasting if I die in a fiery car crash in Canada. And she didn't find that funny at all.
I didn't.
It's just a joke. I'll be back in a week and a half. Everything will be fine.
Uh-huh.
You don't think everything will be fine?
No. Oh, you're prepping for more than a week and a half, by the way.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I will plan, if I'm gone the Monday and Tuesday, just plan on me joining you the whole morning. Mm-hmm. From 7 to 10.
Yeah.
I did put it's called the Neal Alaska clock in, which makes the changes we've talked about, which starts us out at 7. And I should know probably by Saturday before I come home if that's happening. Maybe even Friday. We'll just see.
Well, you're going to need to leave.
By Friday. That's
absolutely
true.
At a minute, like early morning Friday.
Yeah, that's true. I would have to leave
you're
early
gonna
Friday.
You're going to need to know. Yeah.
Because I am coming home the shortest route I can.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I thought, it'd be nice to go that coastal route down British Columbia. I'm like, no, that's an extra 6 to 8 hours. And I know after 5,000 plus miles, I'm just, because any route I take is going to be beautiful. So,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll want to get home. So, yeah, I will
you
probably
should.
leave Friday.
I mean, if you're going to be home by Sunday night, you should leave early Friday morning.
Yeah, I should. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, just so you know, because I know you've been really, really worried about it. I'm putting in an extra aspirin. So I'll take an aspirin in the morning and at night to guard against the blood clots, because it will be...
There's going to be a lot of sitting.
It is going to be probably 15 to 16 hours a day of driving.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
James, how much time do we have?
35 seconds.
Okay, so James wants to know who the guest hosts are going to be. So tomorrow, I will have from the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office, Brian Lovell. Monday, Bill from Wealth of Health. Tuesday, I will have Representative Barb Ehart. Thursday, I am going to have Paul Hackey. And then Friday, Scarlett, why can't I think of Scarlett's last name?
Polson,
Scarlett Polson in with me. So I only have one day not covered.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see the message from somebody saying they came back through from Canada to America and they were at the border for an hour?
Yeah, I did. 9:27 on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason. So I'm getting a little twitchy about crossing the border. Julie, last week you sent me a video about a young woman who was crossing into Canada, and they gave her a grilling for several minutes about not even stuff that was in her car. It was about text messages that she had with a friend who she left her guns with that had nothing to do with her going through Canada. They were just grilling her about that. So
yeah, she openly admitted she was a gun owner.
Yeah.
She said she left those guns in a safe in somewhere in Middle Washington.
Yeah, with a friend.
And the questioning even went to, well, why were you at that friend's house?
Yeah.
You don't get to ask that question.
Well, the problem is if you react that way,
you're in trouble.
Because you don't have a right to go through Canada. Then that's how they view it.
He was so condescending too. Did you notice? I mean, you never got to see him because she had her camera running, probably in like a dash mount, and it was just on her. So you never get to see the Canadian Border Patrol person.
Yeah.
But he keeps saying the phrase, well, fair enough. You don't get to decide what's fair enough for me or not. It was so condescending.
The question itself was an overreach.
Yes.
She was very polite, answering every single question. I think the average, and she seemed like a pretty confident person. Like in a normal interaction, she would have defended herself and pushed back and created better boundaries. I don't think you get to do that because, like I said, in America, we absolutely have rights. But when you go across the border, they don't treat you like you have the right to go through Canada. So they're going to grill you. They're going to push you. And I asked Steve, my buddy who I'm traveling through Canada with, and he said, I have to prep you for something. Everything's in kilometers in Canada, which I already knew. But that wasn't what he was prepping me for. He said, the speed limit is like 57 miles per hour. I'm like, okay, so I'll be jogging next to the car? Well, is that how? But anyway, so...
You got to go a little slower.
Yeah, and I said, so can we push it a little bit? Could we do 60 or 65? Because I could manage 65. And he said, we don't want to give them any reason at all to pull us over because that could create some issues. So we'll go 57 through Canada because, I mean, he did say if we had a problem and got arrested or ended up in jail, it would probably be a story that here's this, American radio talk show host in a Canadian jail. So
there it would be.
Yeah. So you might hear from me before.
Okay, let's go ahead and do it. We'll build our audience.
Okay.
I'll have plenty of information to share on the air while you're gone.
Yeah.
Get yourself arrested, Neal.
Yeah. Okay. I will. I mean, the McKenzie brothers have had time to get their law degrees. They could be my attorneys.
Do they really have law degrees?
No. I'm saying they've had enough time since, what was the show? Strange Brew. That's what it was.
I thought you knew something incredibly in-depth about the McKenzie.
No.
What you saying, eh?
Yeah, like take off, eh? I know. Oh, yeah. Half the stuff is in French, too, when you buy products up there. I don't know if it is in Alberta. Is it in Alberta?
I actually do feel like this side of Canada, meaning the western side of Canada, is a lot different than the eastern side of Canada.
And by different, you mean more rational.
Yes.
You're right. You know what? There is a proportional relationship between rational Canada and proximity to Ottawa.
Right. There you go.
I think the Albertians, is that what they're called?
Okay.
I think they're Albertians.
Okay.
It sounds like abortions, but that's Albertians. I think that's what they're called. I think so. I could be wrong.
He's just making up. He's making up that the McKenzie brothers have law degrees. Now he's making up a name for a whole entire...
Well, I remember as a kid, we went, I think it was to Toronto. One of our trips back east, because we drove back to Pennsylvania a couple of times. And we crossed into the border, and I remember we stopped at a McDonald's, and I got burger. It was back when liberals didn't freak out when there was a styrofoam clamshell container. And now McDonald's has all paper stuff. But I remember getting that, and half of it was in French. And I'm like, oh, wow. I don't want to eat it now. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Let's go to the phones. 208-542-1079. Hi, caller. How are you today?
Hey, fantastic show, guys. Just appreciate your efforts on, the airwaves here. So it's just quick correction. It's Albertans.
Okay.
What they call themselves over here.
They
are the more rational province.
Do I hear a little bit of a Canadian accent in your voice?
Nope.
Nope. Say houseboat really quick for me.
No, the folks from Nova Scotia, you got to ask them. It's very impressive. But you're on point. The closer you get to Quebec, it's pronounced Quebec or Ottawa, you're in a different country. It's again, very strange place, and you're definitely right about not giving them any reason. They would love the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or CMP. Those guys definitely would have you on their radar just for the record, you're already a tagged man, whether you know it or not. And you can thank the Five Eyes for part of that. So good luck at the border, and just pray that you don't get anyone from the French side. That's probably the key takeaway.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm getting worried.
You just got to be nice. How do you bribe these people?
Julie's right. This is the key. If you come with donuts, if you come with something, I don't know. But building up some material so that you can, be detained for any duration of time may well be in your interest. So it's a very different country than 10 years ago. It's very sad, actually, what's happened there.
So are you serious? Like, when I go, especially when I come back, should I grab some donuts before I cross back into Canada? Like, will they take that?
I don't know. I don't know that it'll help or hurt you. It'll depend on whether they're from French Canadistan. It'll totally depend on that. Okay. Because they'll take it as a threat or an intent to bribe, or they'll take it as a kind gesture if they're from Alberta.
Okay.
So,
maybe just feel out the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the soft skills, but the key again is, look, it's a sadly terribly different country. What Trudeau has done to those people, and sadly what they've allowed to happen to themselves, right? You can only be so polite for so long as you're being ravished. It's tragic.
Okay, so I have another question or two for you. Let's say I'm driving home, because I am driving home alone, and let's say I just lose track of my speed for a minute, and I do get pulled over. What are they going to do? Like, here's an American traveling alone, and maybe they do a background check and they find out who I am. Like, what would happen to me in that situation?
You got two scenarios. So pretending they didn't do the background check, just as polite as possible. Explain, look, I'm so used to miles, I'm not accustomed to kilometers, blah blah blah. Give the ignorant speech, and they'll probably let you fine. You'll be fine. But if you are flagged with RCMP, which again, the high probability is that you are, they may have some fun for an hour or so, and they'll just make sure they can test your patience to make sure you're late to wherever you were going to be. It's sad. It's sad actually, because you're talking probably Coots. Are you going through Coots, or are you going through which border crossing?
Which border crossing are you going through?
Oh, up north off Canada, or off Alaska.
No. So are you going through the Alcan? Are you headed to Alaska?
Yes.
Oh, my condolences to you. Because you got to get through all of, obviously, Alberta, but you got a chunk of British Columbia and the Yukon. That's you better budget 5 days for yourself.
Yeah, we are. It's going to be a long, long trip.
Good. Okay. You'll be fine. Yeah, again, sadly, the further north you go, the more normal they get, unless they're, again, from French Canada or Canadistan. Anyone from the east side is, again, trouble. If they have any flare of French accent, just be on your guard. That's all I can offer.
Okay, don't get off the phone, because someone just sent in a text that I feel like I've been trying to critically think about this trip for Neal and what he needs to do and everything. I didn't even think of this one. The car that he is driving back from Alaska is not in his name. It's in his friend's name. If he gets pulled over, is that going to cause an issue?
Oh, man, you just got to get your insurance company on the phone to print out a liability. What would you call that?
Proof of insurance.
I don't know what kind of coverage you got, but an explanation of coverage essentially for that make model, if you can. Because your insurance company is going to have different underwriting rules for what they'll cover in a foreign country. So that's worth getting on the phone with their agent and saying, hey, square with me on that. Print me out whatever I need.
Okay. I will be driving one of their cars back. So do I get on with their agent, or I get on with mine?
Yours.
Mine. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll send that message today. So
hey, love the show, guys. Appreciate you not being bashful about getting in the weeds on good topics and the gory details, and don't let anybody think that this is cynicism when it's just flat out the reality we live in. So appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay. Well, all right. Well, there's another thing to add. I have a few days, but yeah.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. You just need to be ultra careful. That's all.
Yeah.
And you might get to one of these borders and you might get through in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it could be totally fine.
It could be totally fine. Just be aware of everything.
Yeah. I feel like I'm that person going, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. It's all fine. Next caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Is that me by chance?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Neil. I want to give a lighter side to your trip. In 1986, my uncle lived up in Alaska, invited us up for the 4th of July celebration. So my father threw us all in the 1973 Impala 4-door car, and we traveled the Alcan Highway.
Oh.
We had a trailer on the back because we were going to camp the whole way. And I will tell you this, as a 13-year-old boy, because you and I are the same age, we entered Canada on July 3rd, and they were doing some sort of weird celebration up there in Canada for a couple days. But the servers, the female servers, were scantily dressed, and my mother was frantic about how these women were dressed, but it was part of their celebration. And we enjoyed dinner there, and then as we got farther up, and the Alcan Highway was covered with frost heaves in a 73 Impala, that got really interesting because, I mean, you did a lot of bouncing, and I don't remember if the seatbelts all worked in the car. I know my youngest sister, she laid in the back window. That was her riding spot in the car because she was the smallest. What a trip. We lost a tire off the trailer, ended up walking up and down the road trying to find the lug nuts so we could put it back on.
Wow.
Stealing a couple off the car, a couple off the other side of the trailer. It was a fun trip. A couple points I might tell you, though. When I went, there were no gas stations. Once you left, like, the main cities, you better have a 5-gallon can in the back because you may not make it to the next one with what you got in your tank. And then, because we ran out of gas, we did find a place that would sell us fuel. It was about a mile from where we ran out of gas. We walked that distance with a gas can, and we paid $5 a liter for gasoline. This was in 1986.
Whoa.
And we paid $5 a gallon or a liter for the gas. And by the time we walked back to the car, there was a swarm of mosquitoes behind us that was going to kill us if they got us. My mother and grandma and a couple of my siblings stayed in the car. And when we got back, the mosquitoes had infiltrated the car through the trunk. I mean, they are ruthless mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be camping, make sure you got a way to latch that door tight from the inside. And, just have fun. This is going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to hearing your daily reports. But I think if you have this opportunity, anyone, they should do it. And I understand they've upgraded the Alcan Highway. It's not quite as rough as it used to be, and maybe there's a few more gas stations along the way. But it took us 3 days. We drove into Homer, and then put our vehicle on a what are they called, ferry, and took a ferry ride over to Kodiak Island. And I mean, just to watch the sun go all the way around the earth, that was a blast. As a kid, it's 3:00 in the morning. Mom's like, you need to get some sleep. It was fun. It was just fun.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. I look forward to it. I've heard of the mosquitoes, Julie. One of our coworkers warned me about the mosquitoes up in Canada.
Okay. I hadn't thought through that one either. I hadn't thought through the car insurance. I mean, you're in a tight enclosure if you guys do stop for the night and sleep. So you should be safe that way. But I would drop the door and get right back in.
Yeah. I would. I had no idea. The story that our coworker said, he was on an island doing some fishing. He said the mosquitoes were insane.
Okay.
So,
are you somebody who gets bit? Do mosquitoes like you?
Yeah, I can. You've seen my legs in the summertime, so yeah. So
okay.
Anyway, all right, we got a break. 9:44 on News Talk 107.9. We'll be back. All right.
Lisa has a story of 5 hours on the eastern border of Canada. She got stuck.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Eastern border. Oh, yeah. So that would have been New York.
Toronto,
okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it was Toronto. What is the bridge out of Detroit? What is that called? Someone will send it in. Yeah. Yeah, there's a certain bridge. You know, it's weird. The way there are places in the U.S. that are north of parts of Canada because of the way Michigan and it's kind of interesting.
I wonder if they'll be tracking your cell phone. I wonder if they do that. So as you come across, if you look sketchy, they can do a quick run on your cell phone and see where it's been.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things that I did not anticipate. Because shortly after, like 3 months after I was married, we went up into Canada to Lethbridge and Calgary. And when I crossed into Canada, I actually felt the protection of our Constitution sort of lifted. Now, I'm sure it wasn't a spiritual thing. It was just that knowledge that
it's different.
It is different. And it's a little unsettling that you're not protected anymore by the Constitution of the United States.
So. I always remember that phone call that we got probably, 8 months ago or so from a local man whose son lives in Canada now. Canada was having a riot. There was a massive police presence about a half a block away from them. Gunshots are happening, rioting is happening. And his son told him, I realized I have no way to protect my family because he couldn't take his guns with him to Canada.
Ugh, that's the worst. If you get pulled over, tell them you're seeking asylum, and they give you the red carpet treatment. Yeah. So the thing with guns, you no handguns. They just you can't do it. In fact, I think Steve said he has some. He's just gonna have them shipped home. Like it's just a lot easier to do that than to try and move them. There might be some extensive paperwork way to do it. You have to separate the ammo from the guns, but it just creates more problems. It's easier just to FedEx it home. But if you have a deer rifle, they do allow that, but I think it's probably a point of scrutiny. Like they'll watch closer. So
the video that I sent Neal that he referenced about the girl who they were asking, like, well, who were you texting and why were you in Washington and blah blah blah. They asked her if she had guns, and she said, I own guns, but they're in Washington. And she went on to explain that she had applied. She knew she was coming to Alaska to work. She had applied to and filled out all the permits, and her guns got denied. And she said, that's why I left them in Washington. Like, she's looking at them like,
I did the right thing.
I did your stuff, and you're still grilling me.
Yeah.
I tried to do it the right way. You guys said no, so I left my guns.
Yeah. Which should have been, okay, we don't need to ask you any more about that.
Yeah.
Like, but now when he said the Five Eyes, what was that about?
Oh, I don't know. Did I miss that?
Is that their intelligence service up there?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I remember him saying that now.
Because
yes.
He said I'm already on their radar screen. Are they monitoring American media?
Well, I think that, okay, I was going to say this, but I was going to wait till Facebook Live. I did a crime story. It was about a cult out of California, but then they relocated to the East Coast, and they tried to go, the cult had a murder, and two of the people tried to get across the border into Canada, and Canada already had all of their information.
Okay.
Like, they had ran their passports and detained them, and within just minutes, they knew all about this cult and the connection and everything. So they got held up there. They ended up killing the border agent.
Oh, yikes.
Because they were really running. Like, they were running to save their lives, and they ended up killing the border agent.
Oh, wow. 9:49 on News Talk 107.9. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason. Town and Country Gardens has all your lawn and garden needs. Good time this weekend to get out. I would advise in the morning because it sounds like the afternoons are going to get a little hot as we head into this weekend. But get out, spread the fertilizer, spread the humates, get step one down. It's still not too late to do the 4-step lawn program. And let's face it, it's never too late to really get started with that.
Also, I was at a big box store several days back, and they had some potted flowers there, like hanging baskets.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, those are pretty and dainty. Well, they're not as good as Town and Country Gardens hanging baskets, which are enormous and gorgeous.
Yeah.
So pretty. So if you haven't gotten those yet because you've been a little bit worried about the frost or whatever, get on down and get those from Town and Country Gardens as well.
South of Idaho Falls, Yellowstone Highway, across from the Budweiser plant.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we have just a few more minutes. If you'd like to join us on the program, we have someone who keeps calling in and hanging up. So if you call in now, you won't have to wait.
They must hear the show and then be like, I'm not waiting.
Yeah.
Don't put me on hold.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I think this is them.
Okay.
Let's go right to the phones. Hi, caller. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. Yeah, I do keep hanging up. I apologize for that.
What's up?
Hey, so I just drove down the highway last week from Anchorage, and been on the highway probably a half a dozen times over the last 20 years, and I can tell you the road's in really good condition. The only problem I can see you don't want to bring gun parts or bullets across that border.
Okay.
It's a major hassle. Otherwise, if you come to the border, you'll be through probably in less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's reassuring. We were talking a little bit about their intelligence service in Canada. Did you get the sense that they kind of already knew who you were, or that they were checking your info while they were talking with you, or anything like that?
Yeah, they'll trip you up on questions. They'll ask this off the wall stuff that you wouldn't really expect to hear from them.
Okay.
But they pretty much know me. I just drove it last April going up, and they'll swipe the customs card, and they'll ask you how long you're going to be in Canada, and yada yada this. But the whole emphasis of the conversation is guns and ammo.
Okay.
They're really concerned about it. And I always tell them I don't have any of that. I never tell them I have liquor or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the other good advice you got from somebody was the gas, the spare gas. Once you get up into past Fort St. John, where you get into British Columbia, you could go about 250 miles between gas stations.
Okay. All right. Well,
you never pass up an open gas station, Neil.
Okay, I got a big 5-gallon gas can. We'll fill that up too and have that with us. So
enjoy your trip. The gas is expensive there. I figure I'm paying about $6-7 a gallon.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Steve's going to be buying 5 gallons of gas. All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate that. 208-542-1079. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, caller.
Good morning, Neal, Julie. How are you?
We're good.
I remember a while back you were told on the air that didn't you serve in the Philadelphia mission?
I did serve in Philadelphia, yes.
Okay. So did I. I served in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And do you remember going into a new companion's apartment? You'd get a transfer, meet at the vet, do all that. And you walk into your apartment, and there's a big Canadian flag on the wall. Your new companion was a Canadian.
I did have a Canadian companion.
So you're going to deal with a whole country of those Canadian companions.
Yeah.
They're a little different.
Now, wait a minute. How do you know this much? I'm curious.
I served with a lot of Canadian companions.
Okay.
And I wanted to choke every one of them.
It's brutal honesty hour on the Neil Larson Show.
Oh, they were brutal. They have little country syndrome.
Little country syndrome. You know what? I actually liked my Canadian companion. He and I got along.
We'd actually give them a beat or two. They come around.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for the call. Okay. But was that a little?
I was like, this guy knows way too much intel. Who is this?
Yeah.
That's where I was going with this. But
okay.
It's just the fact that you had similar experiences.
Yeah. And there were a lot of Canadian missionaries too. But yeah. Burgess, that was his last name.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Elder Burgess.
Okay. Really fast caller. You got about 1 minute. Go ahead.
That's me?
Yep.
Okay, here's a question, and I'm kind of discouraged about this, that we put a president in, and the courts can stop him, and in every way. And I mean, it's not. Even if I was a Democrat or a Republican, the people put a president in to do something, and the courts, unelected courts can just say, hey, you can't do it. Is that, how do we get around that? Or is there something we can do for that? Can he somehow come in and say the courts and start saying, judges, you're now gone, or anything? Or
well, the correct answer to that, thank you for the call. I'm hurrying this up because we are governed by time here, is to file a friend of the court. There's a word for that. What is that called? An amicus brief. And try to get it fast-tracked to the Supreme Court if there is a dire constitutional issue at hand, which the Supreme Court has taken those up. So I think that would probably be the answer. It's 9. There's more to it, but we're going to take a break. We'll be back. We'll wrap it up when we come back on News Talk 107.9. Okay, let me cut this back a little.
The two James on Facebook Live. Your names are so close. James Gibb, I thought James Jeeb is how it's pronounced, had changed his profile picture.
Oh, okay.
When I read the name first as I was hurrying, and then I'm like, oh, wait, that's the wrong name. Yeah, so we have a James Gibb and a James Jeeb. Their names are almost exactly the same.
Oh, that's really close. Mm-hmm. We're going to move quick.
I saw your water tower idea, G with the double F, Jeff. He thinks we should put a Diet Dr. Pepper on top of the water tower. Forget about a Spud King. Forget about King Kong. Let's put a Diet Dr. Pepper.
We could take one of those soda cans at Osgood and set it on
stick
top.
It up there.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, now he's added Bigfoot to it. That's hilarious, Jeff.
All right, here we go. All right, 9:58 on News Talk 107.9. I just want to take this minute here and thank Julie in advance for filling in me. It's a tall order task, Julie, to do this, but she is absolutely up to the task, and I look forward to hearing how things are going.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to the audience, a lot of people seem really supportive of me going to Canada. So
yes, yeah. So I am so excited for you. It's going to be a great trip. We're going to manifest this. It's a world of abundance. It's going to be full of beauty and laughs and lifetime memories. I think it's going to be amazing.
And you will hear me popping in. Thank you very much, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to everyone. And I will see you probably in just less than 2 weeks from today. So, All right, Clay and Buck up next. It's 9:59.